Davin, coming on the podcast all the way from Hawaii today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Wishing I was in Hawaii right now. Yeah, man. And we were talking about I had to put the shirt on for the podcast today. Try and match where you're at.
Looking good, man. Looking sharp.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, man, David, it is so good to have you on the podcast today. And we got to meet, man, probably about a month ago now, which is wild. Time is flying for us, but um, excited to have you on. As just a lot of the purpose behind these podcasts with Books for Guys is just having leaders like yourself on to talk about the importance of reading, the importance of education, and wanting young men to see individuals like yourself who do a lot of really cool things and so they understand, hey, if I want to do what Davin's doing or get to that level, learning and continuing to learn and you can do a lot of that through reading is important. And so, again, just thank you so much for coming on here to talk with us today.
Yeah, man. My pleasure. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, man, kind of starting off, so we started talking and I'm a little ahead of the game because your book actually doesn't come out until October, right?
That's right. That's
All
right.
right.
You
Well,
got me.
I got an early copy then, and got a little cheap thanks to Forbes mailing me your book a little bit early.
Yeah.
But we'll have it on the Books for Guys website for people to be able to go purchase. If they're interested, and we'll have some posts and whatnot. But David, talk a little bit about your background because it's unique. You're in Hawaii, went to Harvard, you've led companies. But talk a little bit about your story and kind of what led you to wanting to write this book.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Hawaii, went to college in the state of Washington, came back to Hawaii, was working, just working in a normal job. I actually worked for my father. And, one day he came up to me, to my desk, and he said, you shouldn't be here. And I was like, oh, is my dad firing me? How is this? But then he went on and he said, you shouldn't be here. You should be out there. You will learn way more out there starting your own business than you will here. And so it kind of went from, okay, I'm being fired to, oh, my dad believes in me. And he said, start a business. I'll be your first investor and you'll learn a lot more. And if you screw it up, that was something he always said. If you screw up, don't worry. You always have a place to live, right? Like I could live at his house. So that was a really nice safety net, right? My worst case scenario, I wouldn't be out on the streets, and that
Yeah.
was nice. So from then, I went into a bunch of different businesses, and and I also worked for a company, a high tech startup, which had a very the pace was pretty intense.
Hmm.
It wasn't a very how do I say, touchy feely, nice kind of place. We were running on fumes, very low money. So things were difficult, and just through that process, I just started thinking there's got to be a better way to motivate people. I was the COO of that company, and it was tough. I had to push people. That wasn't my nature. I had to, I wasn't happy with the person I was then. So started my own business again. Dad invested in it again, the first investor, and just found, just along the way, the nicer and more giving I became, the more successful I became, because I wasn't trying to win every deal anymore. I wasn't trying to hit the home run on every deal. It was, you know, sharing the pie, growing the pie, and just hitting doubles all day long is what I said, and I've been doing that for years now. And
Yeah.
it's been a nice ride and very enlightening.
Yeah. Man, it's interesting. I talk to a lot of people, and you kind of hear that story of not burnout, but you're in an environment, and you're like, man, there's got to be something different than this. I don't like this. I don't like the way this is going. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And then that's when kind of the light bulb clicks, and you're just like, man, I'm just going to go for it, and then try something to do it my way, do it in a way that I find respectful and different. And it's just crazy those stories, how when you take that leap of faith and kind of go out there and do it, usually works out, as far, if you're willing to put the work in and just kind of take that leap of faith.
Yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head right there. And I truly do believe, and I think my life has kind of proved it to me, is that, when you're willing to put in the work and the sacrifice and commit to it, a lot of great
Yeah.
things can happen. I hesitate to say that anything is possible because I know it's medically impossible for me to grow to 8 feet and then jump out of the gym, right? You know what I mean? But
That
short
might be
short
impossible. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, short of that kind of medical miracle, I do
Yeah.
believe most anything is possible with the commitment and the work for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the conversations around that. Just if you can find the discipline and just the daily kind of forget what you feel like, do what your plan is, and just keep chopping away at it. And I always talk about how fast time goes by, to where if you can just stay consistent for a month and then 3 months and then 6 months and then a year, and then you look back and you can see all that you accomplished, kind of gives you a good feeling. And I'm sure as you started doing that yourself with your business and kind of with your goals, I bet that was a really cool feeling to be like, man, I'm glad I did this. And probably really thankful for your dad to push you in that direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said it right. I'm the kind of guy that isn't really in the spotlight. I'm the ones kind of laboring in the shadows, late at night, just working, working, working. I've
Yeah.
Most nights I'm up till 3 a.m. Thankfully, my wife has been taking care of the kids
Yeah.
early in the morning, and they're all grown and independent now, for the most
Yeah.
part. But
Yeah.
just from all those times just working late, and then one day you pick your head up and you're like, wow, this has happened and that has happened, and um, you know, um, one of the things I'm most proud about with this book is that it's a memoir for my daughters.
Yeah.
Um, I was a CEO of a publicly traded company. We rang the bell at NASDAQ,
Yeah.
and the that was always kind of a goal that I never said out loud because it's
Yeah.
such a big goal, but it's super cool. And what made it cooler and more memorable is that my two daughters introduced me at the podium at NASDAQ.
Uh,
And
yeah.
it's the most memorable part about all of this, to have them be a part of it. And when they went back to school, they were kind of known as the finance girls, so they were so it's inspired them to pursue finance. My older daughter is in college, and yeah, it's really cool. But that is how the publisher thought of me.
Yeah.
They saw this moment, and they approached me, and I said, "Oh, no, no, thanks. I don't want to write a book. That's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not the spotlight guy." But then it kind of became, "Oh, what motivates you?" And it's my daughters, of course, raising
Yeah.
the bar for them, and then it became, "What if we posed it as a memoir to your daughters?" And I was like, "Okay, now you got me. Now you got my."
You guys
So
are good. You guys are good.
yeah, yeah. So that's one of the things. Like this book, just in general, just I'm not necessarily a writer, and
Yeah.
I definitely don't write about myself,
Yeah.
So just was writing, and one day I look up and I was like, wow, we're almost done, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that it's kind of one of those things.
That's kind of one of my questions I ask sometimes, because I've talked to a few, several authors now, and some of them, they do enjoy writing and they plan to write a lot of books, and it's something that comes natural to them. But then I talk to others, and it is difficult. You got to create a plan and you got to put in the time and the work, and it's more out of kind of your responsibility to write the book, and like you're the only one that can write about this, and the way you phrase it, a memoir to your daughters, it's a different motivation to write the book. And so it sounds like for you, it wasn't necessarily just an easy thing to do. It took some thinking and some time and really thought into how you were going to put this out there and phrase it and do it in your own style. Um, did you have like I guess a regimen where you were like, hey, I get up at this time and this day every week I'm gonna write, or was it something that you kind of had to do sporadically, just given your responsibilities?
Yeah, initially I set out for it to be twice a week, these hours after my family is asleep.
Yeah,
That's when it's quiet. That's when my phone isn't ringing or emails coming
yeah,
in. But then you know, life, right? Life happens. You get busy, and it's just kind of okay. Whenever I have these little uh, moments of where I'm not too busy, I start writing. But but my dad is I write about my dad a lot in this. Of course, I had a deadline with the publisher, and my dad
yeah,
got sick. So I Advantage, Forbes books, they're amazing. I told them, I'm not feeling it right now. I can't write right now, and they said we understand. Take your time. And then my dad got sick. 4 months later, he was gone. So that was a really, really tough one.
yeah,
But Advantage and Forbes, they were great. They moved the deadline back. They moved it back again, and
yeah,
then they kind of said, "Hey, what if we dedicated a chapter to your dad?" And I said, "That is a great idea. That will get me
yeah.
back to reading."
That'll
So
get me going. Yeah,
yeah, so that got me going again, and I was able to finish the book. But I mean, they were fantastic.
yeah. Man, that's a incredible. That's a powerful story because again, he meant so much to you, and you can hear how much you credit him for where you're at, and family's important to you. And man, I will say Forbes has been they're a great company in the way they are. I work with a lot of their authors and have these discussions, and every single person talks about just how great they've been and just kind of their approach. That's really cool to hear you say that too, because a lot of people when they not everyone's like that. And so it's really cool that they were able to work with you, together and say like, hey man, how do we do this? Let's talk about your dad. And like, man, heck yeah, let's do that. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's cool, man. You had a plan, and then the plan got changed. You had to pivot quite a bit, but then you were able to get it done, which is man, it's cool. I'm sure you're really proud to have this book, and again, your daughters will have this too, for the rest of their life. I mean, your name's gonna writing a book. It's one of those things where it's like one day you won't be here, but your book and your name will always be here for to stand, forever, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool to think about and to say. But one of the funniest things is my daughter Maya. She's 16 right now. When I told her I was writing a book, she's like, "What?" And she said, like, for real, like a real book? And I was like, "Yeah, with Forbes." And she's like, "What?" Like, and she's like the Bruno Mars song, like, "I want to be on the cover of Forbes magazine." And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What?" So, what a neat thing out of all of this is I got some street cred from my younger daughter, Maya.
Street cred from the daughter.
Yeah,
That's cool. I didn't even think about that song, but that's hilarious that she would associate that with who you're working with. Yeah.
yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Well, one question you were talking about how I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your book, but with you being in Hawaii and doing business and you talking about late hours and family, how many hours of sleep do you think you get on a normal week?
So I always say if I get less than 5 hours of sleep, I'm completely useless. I should just
Yeah.
keep my butt in bed because nothing productive is going to happen that day,
Yeah.
So I would usually cut off around 3 and then wake up 5 hours later. If I cut off at 2, I wake up at 7 so I could see my
Yeah.
daughters before they go off to school.
Yeah.
Um, so 7 times 5, I guess 35 is the minimum.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, anything below that, it's not good.
Yeah. But it sounds like you've kind of learned how to operate off that and be productive and be fine with it. It's not like it doesn't sound like you're burning yourself out. You've found kind of that balance where you're like, okay, here's where I'm good and here's where I need to maybe tone it back a little bit when needed. Um,
For sure. For sure. I'm approaching 50, and I'm getting a lot smarter about life is short, right? So I gotta enjoy
yeah,
it. So I do have an assistant now who helps, and
there you go.
she's fantastic. I also have a male assistant who helps, so he's fantastic. So they're really helping me to kind of
Yeah.
stop a little and enjoy, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Maybe help you with some of the things that you can pass off, and not have
right.
to worry so much about. So that's great. Couple things I wanted to talk about in your book, 'cause you talk about a different approach to leadership. You're talking about being a servant, service to others, and then you talk about like community and the importance of having that around you. Um, Talk a little bit about your approach to leadership and just why that works for you and why you wrote about the way you approach leadership.
Yeah, um, it, it's kind of the way I've been brought up, right? And by my parents, very humble people who did everything for their kids, and just seeing that demonstrated from day one of my life throughout, that's really a major factor. Also growing up in Hawaii,
Yeah.
we're a small island community, and everyone knows everyone, right?
Yeah.
The person you're talking to, if you don't know them directly, they're probably 1 degree from that, of
Yeah.
separations. So whether you treat that person well or you treat them disrespectfully, I mean, people are gonna know, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thankfully, my parents modeled good behavior for me or to me, right?
Yeah.
So it's it it wasn't a major task. His a friend of mine always says it's not hard to be nice, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, so just knowing that everything you do does get around, so you might as well be
Yeah.
nice, right? You might as well
Yeah.
be cool
Yeah.
and respectful, and that's Hawaii. And I think sometimes in bigger cities, you think you're never going to see this person again, so you're not
Yeah.
as respectful as you could be, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and just along the way, with those as kind of my guiding principles, just along the way, um, when I've worked as a team,
Yeah.
I've noticed that to bring out the best in someone, it really helps when you genuinely care about them and they genuinely feel that, they will give you your best, and when you're trying to achieve long-term goals that are more than one season, right? Or, you play a sport, you have a coach who yells at you, degrades you, and maybe they're
Yep.
motivated, maybe they're trying to motivate you to prove them wrong, right? Or
Yep.
maybe they just don't even care. I don't know. I,
Sometimes that's the case.
and I just found for me that never resonated with me. That never got me to want to do better. In fact, it
Yeah.
made me want to say, I'm out of here. This ain't for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Mm. So I always try to take a different approach. Like, if I show you that I'm trying to help you, I care about your future, I care about your goals, what can we achieve together? Because I think you're going to be with me
Yeah.
for as long as I keep doing that. As long as you feel wanted and needed, you're going to stick with me, and we're going to achieve some great things together. And just over time, and over partnerships, and over being an employee of other businesses, I've
Yeah.
seen that work,
Yeah.
yeah, it's worked.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Just from, even personal experience, I always tell people how blessed I am to work with the company that I currently do because the leaders are very similar. They care, they check in, they have a certain way of leading, and a community's been built because of that. I always say, like, I work with A-level players. It's not even something they drill into us. It's just because of the way everyone wants to help and they're motivated to help because um, just everyone cares. So, and it's different. I've been in a different environment where you do get kind of the hard charging leader, and people just they don't like it. They get tired of it. They don't do your best work. You try to cut corners because you're trying to, just do what they want and make them happy. But it's totally different. I always tell people how I've been able to see the difference, and you're totally right. So, like, what you've written about is something I resonate with because I've seen both sides, and it makes a lot of sense. Um, I also played sports, so the coaching. I think of coach like one coach I always think of is Pete Carroll, who was at USC and then now he's in Vegas. So like the players love him. He motivates, but he's got a way of just charisma and positivity and the way that he lets players be who they are, and they all come and bring their A game for him. And he's the one guy I think about when kind of putting those principles.
Man, that's fantastic. I was right about to talk about Coach Pete. So I mentioned I went to school in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
So of course I'm a Seahawk fan, and Pete Carroll was hired to be the coach of the Seahawks on my birthday.
Oh,
I remember thinking, this will be the ultimate test because at USC he was the players' coach, let them
yep.
be themselves, so positive. But of course he had scholarships over their heads, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now he goes to the NFL, the highest level of the most macho sport, right? And these guys are all multimillionaires. They could tell, not listening to you, like how's that gonna go?
Yeah.
And obviously it went very, very well.
Yeah.
Championship. He's gonna be a Hall of Fame coach. So I always look at Pete, and I read his book. I love it. Win
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
And just he's been someone I really look up to. It's like, man, if he can do it in that environment,
Yeah.
like why can't I do it in on my little tiny island of Oahu, in
Yeah.
my little tiny business? Why can't I replicate that? And so he's been a major inspiration. And
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm stoked that you mentioned his name. I was right about
Yeah.
to.
That's it, man. That's awesome. We went to a Seahawk game when he was coaching there. My family is big fans of his, and we had let's see, we had a Russell Wilson jersey, Richard Sherman. I know Marshawn Lynch was kind of a player that they were like, is he gonna be able to mesh with him? But it was perfect. It was a perfect match just because the way that Coach Carroll is. And I remember growing up when he was coaching at USC, and my coaches went out there to like job shadow him, like watch practice and everything. And they were talking about how he just creates an environment of competitiveness, and everyone's just competing, but everyone's doing it like because they like each other and they're all just making each other better, just the way they are. And I was like, man, Pete Carroll's like my favorite coach ever. Just following him his career. I was sad that he's not in Seattle anymore because we like that so much. But I'm glad he's still coaching. It's easy to root for him wherever he's at.
Yeah, absolutely. Never had a chance to meet him. But everything I read about him, everything I see about him, he's really cool, man. I like that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll get to meet him someday. That'd be really cool. I'd love to meet him too. He's probably one of those guys. I'm like, if there's five guys I could pick to go get lunch with or hang out for a day, he would be in that list for sure.
Absolutely.
But
He's got a place in Hawaii and he comes here a lot. So I've had friends who have
uh,
bumped into him. My
yeah,
friends are Niners fans and they see him.
yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
Seahawks and I have to see him. So uh, one day.
Yeah, one day. Uh, well, David, I'll ask you one more question just because it's one that I ask everyone I talk to. You've written a book now, and a lot of people are going to have that on their bookshelves, and hopefully they'll follow those principles and use it, and it'll mean a lot to them. But for you personally, growing up or just in your professional world, has there been a book or a couple of books that you've read that had an impact on you? And one or two that if anyone ever asks you for recommendations that you like to recommend to others?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, I like Pete Carroll's book, Win Forever. Um, and and in business school at the University of Hawaii, um, we read Good to Great,
Yeah,
and I of course I love that one. It's a classic. Um, two books that I actually made my daughters read. One is called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
it's a great book.
I'm
Yeah,
yeah,
great
I'm a
book.
real
I
estate
read that like
investor.
5 times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And the other one is Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, I love those four books, and
yeah,
those are on my bookshelf. And
yeah,
I haven't put mine next to theirs yet. It's not on that level, but maybe one day I'll have the bravery to do so.
yeah, yeah. And maybe some people will have yours on that shelf with those books because those are all really good books to read every couple of years. It just kind of refresh. That's why I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It just kind of kind of re-locks me in the way I think about finances and growth and business. And I'm still a young guy trying to figure it out and kind of take those proper steps every day. And it's always a good kind of refresh to hone in on those skills and the way you think about money and growth and such. And so his book's one that I've read, like I said, several times and try to at least every couple of years as a refresher. Um, yeah, that's a lot of my friends have read that one too. It's a very popular book. All of those are. So those are really good choices. But um, no, Dave, and again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Because again, I think it's really important for men in general, young guys and really all men to be able to see like, what people are doing in the world and kind of just some of the things they've overcome and even yourself writing this book, you had some obstacles during that time that were challenging and hard to go through, but you're doing some really awesome things and it's just really cool to be able to spotlight you and show others, what they can accomplish with hard work and if they've got goals, what it takes. And so um man, just again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you, Chris. All the best to you in your bright future. And if you ever hit Oahu, let me know.
Yeah, I will. And we'll have your book. We'll have it on the website and we'll make some posts. It's coming out in October. But we'll have it posted on there for anyone to click on so they can go pre-order it and have it the day that it drops. And so can't wait for us to be able to post this episode and have people reach out and talk about it. I know there'll be a lot that enjoy this. So can't wait to share that with you, David.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.